What's poppin', my fantastic family? It's me, MT, and welcome back to the Heavy Spoilers Show. Fantastic Four First Steps has just released in theaters, and my god, is it a comic book brought to life. But it's also a movie that has left us with a number of questions, especially with its incredibly exciting mid-credit scene that sets the stage for the mayhem to come in Avengers Doomsday. So, before we attempt to explain the potential answers to some of these big questions, I just want to let y'all know that there will be heavy spoilers ahead for the entire plot of Fantastic Four and all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe up to this point. So, if you have not seen Fantastic Four First Steps yet, I highly advise that you do so before watching this video. But hey, if y'all just want to hang out with me as I talk about some fun nerdy nonsense, that's cool too. But yeah, today I want to try to give you guys an explanation for the following questions that you all may have on your minds. Questions like, why the hell did Dr. Doom stop by the Fantastic Four's Baxter Building? What the hell was Dr. Doom doing with a 4-year-old Franklin Richards during that mid-credits moment? How could Dr. Doom's plans for Franklin Richards factor into Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars? How does the mid-credits scene with Dr. Doom tie into the post-credits scene of the Thunderbolts watching the arrival of the Fantastic Four spaceship to Earth 616? And also, we're going to touch on questions about Galactus. Mainly, where did Galactus come from, and where did he go? Where did you come from, Purple-Eyed Joe? But yeah, let's start off with Dr. Doom. To recap, the Fantastic Four First Steps mid-credit scene showed us Susan Storm finishing up a reading of The Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle to a now 4-year-old Franklin Richards. And when she goes to pick up the book A Fly Went By Michael McClintock, Dr. Doom would stop by Franklin's side, with Franklin's outstretched arm seemingly touching Dr. Doom's exposed face, as his iconic mask can be seen in his hand. In the pages of 1962's Fantastic Four number 5, we first learn that Dr. Doom famously wears his iconic metal mask because of a science experiment that went totally wrong. Apparently, Dr. Doom was attempting to build a machine that allowed him to travel to other dimensions, with his specific goal of reaching a place called the Netherrealm. Later issues would establish that Doom's attempts to reach the Netherrealm were in hopes of rescuing the soul of his sorceress of a mother, Cynthia Von Doom, from the pits of hell. Doom attempting to save his mother's soul from interdimensional imprisonment has been a major motivation for Doom in the comics. And since we know that this Fantastic Four universe is deeply rooted in the lore of the classic Fantastic Four comics by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, it would make sense to assume that the same would be the case for this Earth 828 Dr. Doom as well. And it would also make sense for you all to head down to the Heavy Spoilers merch store to pick up our new shirt inspired by both the Fantastic Four and NASA. Our boy Sheridan has made another fire hit yet again, just for you guys to celebrate this new Fantastic Four release, so be sure to check out that design or many of our other incredible merch options over at the Heavy Spoilers merch store today. This being said, with the entire world now knowing how powerful and cosmically significant Franklin Richards is following the Galactus crisis of the movie, Dr. Doom likely heard about this as well. And just as Galactus sought out Franklin to free him from his inner pain, there's also a good chance that Dr. Doom will be curious enough to do the same. I mean, Franklin is effectively Marvel Jesus in a way. I mean, not Deadpool Marvel Jesus, but like actual Marvel, like healing people Jesus. This being said, it would also be perfectly plausible to assume that Dr. Doom himself would also be equally interested in the potential of Franklin Richards healing his two major inner pains, with those two inner pains being his disfigured face and his doomed mother. So, while Sue Storm was distracted, it seems like Dr. Doom took the opportunity to examine Franklin up close with his own eyes, choosing to remove his mask to do so. And seeing Doom's scarred face, little Franklin, being the super compassionate child that we've seen him to be, would miraculously heal Doom's face with his infinite cosmic power. And of course, in this Earth 828 universe, Doom's fully healed face looks a lot like that of actor Robert Downey Jr.'s. And we do know from previous Multiverse Saga projects how the faces of actors can be reused for different characters throughout the multiverse, with Chris Evans being a prime example. While his face is most famous for playing 616 Captain America, his recent reappearance in Deadpool and Wolverine as Johnny Storm shows us that the same faces can still be used in different identities.
My God, he's gonna say it!
Say what?
Avengers!
Flame on!
Sorry, what now?
And if you're curious as to what Doctor Doom's face may look like beneath the mask before he was healed, look no further than Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars #3 from 2015. Because in that issue, he straight up reveals his messed up face to Susan Storm. And while this was a nice little gift for Doctor Doom from Franklin, I don't believe that's exactly why he decided to stop by the Baxter Building in the first place. Yeah, I'm sure he was very curious about Franklin Richards, but it seems to me that a far more pressing concern may have pushed Doctor Doom to put his pride aside and visit the Fantastic Four family for help. And that concern is, of course, the coming multiversal incursions that threaten every reality in the Marvel Cinematic Cosmos. But I believe that in order to explain why Doom is stopping by the Richards family home, we have to look back to the post-credit scenes of 2 past MCU films, 2021's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, as well as 2025's Captain America Brave New World. In the Shang-Chi post-credit scene, we learn that Shang-Chi's rings were emitting a mysterious signal that was strong enough to be felt by sorcerers across universes. And though Shang-Chi's rings initially pushed that signal outwards while he was in the alternate reality of Ta Lo, Sorcerer Supreme Wong and his fellow sorcerers in Kamar-Taj were still able to feel that signal's pulse. This is primarily due to Ta Lo itself being a universe that has been experiencing a number of tears in the fabric of reality that have been causing visitors from other realities and realms to stop by and give them problems. Visitors like the Dweller in Darkness, an entity that the people of Ta Lo had to seal away, but was still strong enough to communicate with Wenwu in the 616 universe nonetheless. So because that Ten Ring signal was let out in a universe that was filled with portals to other realities, it is highly possible that one of these portals allowed for the signal to reach the attention of Earth 828 Doctor Doom himself, who we all know is also a powerful sorcerer in his own right. I believe that, like the sorcerers of Kamar-Taj, Doom was able to detect this alternate universe signal from the Ten Rings and came to the conclusion that the walls between realities were beginning to break down and that other realities were attempting to make contact with Earth 828. And this is the very same conclusion that the big-brained Samuel Stearns appears to have made at the very end of Captain America Brave New World, when he warned Sam that he cannot stop the coming war to Earth 616 from other protectors of Earth like the X-Men or the Fantastic Four.
We'll see what happens when you have to protect this place from the others.
With Doom deducing the coming fall of the structure of time itself across the multiverse being on the horizon, Doom decided to put his pride aside and seek the Fantastic Four for aid. Because let's face it, although Doom is extremely intelligent in his own right, he's still not as smart as Reed Richards, a man that we have seen develop technology that affords him to do stuff like travel faster than the speed of light in a rocket ship or transport matter from one position in space-time to another. So I believe that Doctor Doom came to the Fantastic Four in order to convince them into helping him get to Earth 616 to determine the source of this mysterious signal and destroy 616 before it has an opportunity to tear apart his native universe of Earth 828. Because at the end of the day, Doctor Doom is still the leader of the country of Latveria, a country that we saw referenced briefly in the form of an empty seat in Fantastic Four First Steps. If an incursion with Earth 616 threatens his reality, it also threatens his nation, and that's something that Doom cannot abide by. Because I'm sure Doom's a smart enough man to be able to preserve his particular nation of Latveria should the Fantastic Four have failed to stop Galactus from eating the planet. Because at that point, it was just a matter of building some type of space ark or something and migrating the people of Latveria to another planet or something, much like we saw the people of Asgard migrate to Earth. However, when the whole of reality is at stake, sometimes you gotta bite the bullet and team up with your worst enemy, because there's no migrating anywhere at that point. And that's something that Reed Richards would have to learn to accept, much like he had to learn to accept the help of the Mole Man during the Galactus crisis. But unfortunately for Reed Richards, once Doctor Doom gets to Earth 616 using the Fantastic Four's rocket ship, he and Doctor Doom are destined to butt heads and severely disagree as to how exactly to address the multiversal crisis on their hands. Because much like the Fantastic Four was deeply unwilling to sacrifice a single life in order to spare their planet, Reed Richards is not going to justify the destruction of Timeline 616 in order to save his own timeline. That's just not who he is. But Doctor Doom, on the other hand, ain't about that kumbaya bullshit and knows damn well that there is no other way to stop the cosmic incursions once they begin, and will not waste a second to begin his assault on Earth 616 and their various teams of Avengers. And we've seen such a conundrum brought before another group of sorcerers in the past, mainly the Doctor Strange variants that we came across in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Defender Strange, Sinister Strange, and the Doctor Strange from Earth 838 all followed a similar type of approach when dealing with universal threats. Do what needs to be done to protect others, even if it means sacrificing one or two people in the process. Defender Strange tried to kill America Chavez in order to keep her power from falling in the wrong hands. Sinister Strange used the Darkhold in order to destroy another universe that was on a collision course with his own, and Earth 838 Strange would go on to dreamwalk into an innocent Doctor Strange variant and completely destroy everyone in his universe by accident in order to find a way to defeat Thanos. And knowing Doctor Doom from the comics, it seems to me that it is extremely likely that he would share a similar type of kill or be killed mentality that these less compassionate versions of Doctor Strange all had. However, those of us who have read the comics know that there is pretty much nothing anyone can do in order to stop the destruction of the multiverse once it starts going. Not even Loki, who literally has every branch of the multiverse in his hands currently, can really stop the coming collisions of all of these realities. The sacrifice that Loki made at the end of Loki Season 2 was only meant to buy the multiverse a chance at survival rather than it being a permanent fix to the problem. And there will come a point in Avengers Doomsday where Doctor Doom realizes that there isn't really much that he can do to save the multiverse as well, which is where little Franklin Marvel Jesus Richards could very well come in. After having experienced Franklin's powers for his own self with the healing of his face, Doctor Doom could attempt to steal Reed Richards' son from him in order to use Franklin to build a new universe based on all the other universes that came before it. Because that's pretty much what the Franklin Richards from the Marvel Comics can do. That kid not only has the ability to manipulate matter, the very building blocks of reality, but he also has the ability to create pocket universes, which he could easily do for Doctor Doom to build his new multiversal kingdom of Latverion, aka Battleworld. And I wouldn't be surprised if this new reality also included a freshly resurrected Cynthia Von Doom as well, as I cannot imagine Doctor Doom ruling a multiversal utopia without him at least including some type of multiversal variant of his mother in it. But that's just me. But yeah, that's what I believe motivated Doctor Doom's arrival at the Baxter Building in the post-credit scene. But one major element that could potentially factor into an incursion between Earth 828 and Earth 616 is big homie G Galactus himself. Because as we saw in Fantastic Four First Steps, with the help of the Silver Surfer, Galactus was pushed into a portal that the Fantastic Four created to teleport him to a different area in space-time, preventing him from being able to find planet Earth for an extremely long time. However, what if Reed Richards' calculations were slightly off? What if by some weird freak accident, Galactus wasn't just transported across space, but across realities? Because if Galactus, one of the most important beings in the 828 universe, was transported into the 616 universe, his presence there would accelerate an incursion event between those two universes to a crazy degree. Because much like the Reed Richards in the Multiverse of Madness Illuminati told us, the longer somebody from another universe stays in that new universe, the greater the chances of those two universes colliding, which then leads to both of those universes dying if one of those universes isn't taken out of the equation. But not only this, it is almost certain that Galactus is considered to be an anchor being for the 828 universe. And much like we learned in Deadpool and Wolverine, once an anchor being is removed from the universe, it starts the slow degradation of that universe into nothing. So Galactus potentially being sent to another universe would definitely open up a can of worms for the entire Marvel Cinematic Cosmos. But let us spend the last part of this video talking about where Galactus even came from. Because when Galactus and the Fantastic Four first meet in the movie, Galactus does mention that he used to be a human-sized person at one point. And this is true, as we first learned in the pages of 1983's Supervillain Classics #1. Before he was Galactus, he was just a regular old dude named Gallon from the planet Ta, a planet that existed in the previous multiverse. However, much like we're currently seeing in the MCU currently, multiverses have a natural end, much like everything else in reality. Nothing lasts forever after all, and nobody knew that more than the poor people from the planet Ta that were witnessing the end of the multiversal cosmos before their very eyes. In fact, their planet was the very last planet that was set to be consumed by an entity known as the Black Winter, which went around consuming everything in its path, much like the dark being Alioth does in The Void in both Loki and Deadpool and Wolverine. With absolutely no hope of surviving the coming destruction of the entire multiverse, Galen and his team of nerdy astronauts decide to go out with a bang by flying directly into a huge source of energy that they refer to as the Cosmic Egg, as that concentration of powerful energy would serve as the basis for the energy of the Big Bang. Pretty much every one of Galen's astronaut homies died during the trip to the biggest star of all time, except for Galen, who merged directly with that star, turning into the being Galactus. This is why Galactus is considered to be older than the universe itself, technically making him the newest Elder of the Universe in the MCU after the Collector, the Grandmaster, and Ego the Living Planet. If you didn't know, now you know. You're welcome. But anyways, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys can follow me at MasterTainment on YouTube, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, wherever I am on the internet. But most importantly, follow Heavy Spoilers here on YouTube by hitting that subscribe button and maybe even hitting that like button if you guys enjoyed the video. But like always, I've been MT. You guys have been amazing. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.